Very beautiful, Don. That is Don you can hear in the background there, everybody. Bit of live music for us. We've not had that before at the Silver Coast San Martino de Porto meetup. And I've got a special guest with me. If I turn the camera around, you're very special. Come on. You can see the view of San Martino de Porto. I've got to say, it's changed a great deal in this last week. A bit quieter last week, and now we're well into September. Very different. Big Phil's here too. Shout out to Big Phil. And we'll spin the camera around now. And so that you can see my special guest will be, look, Colin Ross Jones, everybody. Is that the name you like to use when you're the old guy? Sorry, you're going to have to stop making me laugh and cough there, Colin. How are you this afternoon?
I'm fine, thank you.
Really nice to have you here. And particularly great. I mean, are we going to go in for this? Today's show, you could say, is sponsored by the San Martino de Porto Triathlon. Fancy it?
I can't understand anybody doing those sort of miles. What were cars invented for?
Exactly. Okay. So good luck to everybody who's taking part in the triathlon.
Oh, very good luck.
Good luck. And we'll come back down here for a moment.
Yeah.
We're at the now world famous Palmera Cafe in San Martino de Porto. Great to be here this afternoon. Lovely day. Quite warm, isn't it? Beautiful view we can see out over the bay there. Wanted to talk to you, Colin, because you've been in and around in the community, I think, 2 or 3 years. We've been chatting on and off, haven't we?
Oh, thereabouts.
Thereabouts. Yep. And you have recently moved from Ericeira.
Yep.
Is that where you first landed in Portugal?
Yes. I found the house through the internet.
Yeah.
In those days, it wasn't easy.
Mm-hmm.
It had a 360 view of the house with an unbelievable view, and in those days we had to fly because it was December 2003. We had to fly from East Midlands Airport, where we parked the car, and it was
brilliant.
-5, and we arrived in Faro because that was the only flight at that time of the year. We arrived in Faro and we had all our ski gear on because we were so cold, and it was 25 degrees.
The heat hit your face like it does at Faro, right? Isn't that lovely?
So we drove up to it's a place called River-Mar, just outside Ericeira.
Yeah.
And I got halfway up the drive and I said to my partner Liz, we're having this.
Did you?
Yep.
Simple as that.
And it was a big 3-story property with 7 bedrooms. And I went back to Chester to my friends and I said, we're buying a big property in Portugal and we're going to run a bed and breakfast. And they went, plan it, Colin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you like?
Plan it, Colin.
Yeah.
So I then spoke to my older brother, who far more sensible and far more brainy than myself. And he said, but Colin, he says, Liz has never been to Portugal before. I said, yeah, that's right. He says, but, you know, you've seen one house. Shouldn't you visit other places? So we went 100 miles north, 100 miles south. We looked at every beach. And we just were drawn back to Ericeira and River-Mar. And we went to the house and said, no, this is it.
So you didn't need to, but it kind of satisfied your curiosity enough.
Absolutely, yeah. But, you know, everybody has to search different areas. And you have to realise why.
Did you come here? Did you come and see this particular beach on your first visit?
Yes, we did. Yep, we did.
You ruled it out at that point. It was just a house, was it? And the location just hit you 360 degrees.
Exactly. The house was absolutely on its own. There was no neighbours anywhere.
Yeah.
So then we went back to Chester. My cousin was a estate agent, and he said, "Yep, Colin, you've got to do this, that, and the other to the house." 3 weeks later, we sold it. Actually, we sold it to the son of Patchwork. You heard of Patchwork? The people the lady that went into Harrods and sold her pâtés.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
So artisan producer.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So we sold it to them and came out here on April the 9th, 2004.
Amazing. Look, we've got a low-flying aircraft. Don't worry. Oh, isn't that amazing? Then like some sort of military aircraft, but nothing to worry about, I'm sure.
Then we started using the house was a 1986, we started using some of the toilets and things, and you'd flush the toilet and the whole thing would fall off the wall.
So you had a few jobs to do. Kept you busy, did it?
So we thought, hang on a minute, we're going to do a bed and breakfast here. So we completely revamped the whole place. We put new drains in, new sinks, new extended bathrooms, created some new bathrooms. So every room was en suite.
Yeah.
And we found we had, because it was 2004, and that funny game called football had Euro 2004.
Amazing. That was a big thing for this country, wasn't it?
Our first guests were the England football band, 14 of them. But they gave us 5 weeks, so we had to get the whole place revamped in 5 weeks.
Okay, but what a great booking.
Which we did.
The official band or the band who play on the stands?
The bands that play on the stand.
You had them at your place?
Yeah.
Superb. Oh, incidentally, Colin, you just need to say that T-Duck is out on the Esplanade.
Hi,
do we call it that? On the beachfront here, having a little walkabout with a lovely bit of kit. We've got a nice steady bit of camera work. Thank you, T-Duck.
You're welcome. I'm on Marginal.
On the Marginal, that's what we call it. And past the first bar there, I had a beer in there last night. It's a lovely place, that first bar. So thank you very much. Can you answer this question, T-Duck? Is Ubi on time for the fish and chips? Just because he's heard a couple of British accents, I think he's given us a bit of banter, isn't he? Am I on time for the fish and chips? Can you check? Ubi's here, yeah. Ubi fish and chips. My skin, says Ubi, is slightly bronzed, but almost back to its pasty mayonnaise tone. Well, I'm glad to hear it. Nothing too serious happened to you then. You might probably put a lot of sunscreen on.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
No, not many people do at this moment. Number to send photos. Oh, excellent. Let's put that on the screen so we can get a photo from Wayne. 913-590-303. Let me just... I'll call it comms for now, and we'll come back to what happened to the English football band who stayed with Colin, and whether or not they got it done in time in the 5 weeks. Comms, please, then, to Portuguese number 913-590-303. Putting that into the comments now. Lovely, Wayne. Thank you very much. Or just email them to me, and I can put them on the, up at a different time. So, what happened? Did you manage to get it sorted in 5 weeks?
Absolutely.
Pulled out the stop.
14 builders there.
Really?
Doing it all.
Yeah.
Wonderful experience. I mean, their work in the morning was wonderful. They'd fall asleep in the garage after they'd drunk their port.
Right.
So the work in the afternoon probably wasn't quite as good.
Best work done in the morning then. Okay.
But yeah, it's all done. 2 days before we cleaned it all up, and in came our first guests.
Amazing.
It was. And we had one night where we got them to do a performance for us on our balcony.
Oh, superb. Great memory.
Fantastic memories.
And they had a good time in Portugal.
They had a wonderful time, yeah. Because
England did fairly well, didn't they, in the tournament, or not? Did England do well in any tournament since 1966?
I'm afraid I know.
You're a rugby guy, aren't you?
Yes, I know very little about football.
Okay, he's a rugby man, so he wouldn't know. How did England do in 2004, if any footy fans are watching? But you didn't get any of the team back?
No.
Okay. All right. Look, that's a lovely view down the beach, isn't it?
Fantastic.
That's our disability access there. How is our mate Sergio? We talked to Sergio, didn't we, about accessibility in Portugal? How's he doing?
Yes, he's doing very well. He's... We decided to sell, and we sold last November, and we sold to a gentleman who lives in New Zealand but travels here for his business that he's expanding through Europe, and therefore the property needed somebody who could arrange various things like pool cleaning and gardening and any work that needed doing. And our friend Sergio, who sadly has got MS, is a wonderful guy.
He is, yeah.
He's looking after the property for the gentleman.
Oh, great! That's a nice little gig for him. Then
it's a great gig for him.
Yeah.
He's
a man on the ground. He knows what he's doing. Well connected.
He does.
We all need a Sergio, don't we?
We all need a Sergio. It took me about 10 years to find somebody like Sergio who could help them.
And then you moved.
And then we moved.
Okay, so have you got? Yeah. Tell us where you are now. You've come away from Ericeira, which is Some might call that the southernmost part of the Silver Coast. Some people do include it, don't they? Not you?
I think it's just outside.
I do as well. I think it's
the Lisbon
Peniche.
coast.
I think it's Peniche to Nazaré,
Yes,
don't you? Some people put flipping Aveiro in the Silver Coast. That's not right, is it? So we're going to go with Peniche to Nazaré.
Some people do all sorts of things.
Don't they just? We're disgusted, generally speaking, aren't we? Until they explain themselves.
Those old people.
Who doesn't like to do a disgusting thing first thing in the morning?
Disgusting old person. Yeah.
So from Ericeira,
yep,
right into the proper Silver Coast.
Proper Silver Coast.
Tell us about that.
Yep. Well, it's an area that just attracted us for many reasons, but the main one is that Ericeira had become the first World Surf Reserve, and it started to change in character and busyness. So, for instance, in August, you would never go into Ericeira. It's impossible to park, and it's just they put little mobile units selling candy floss and all sorts of things. You just don't want to be in there. So
fine for tourists and visitors, but a bit unbearable for the locals. Right, okay.
Exactly. So
if you've got nothing to sell,
so we decided that we'd sell up, and after 18 years of running a bed and breakfast, it was certainly long enough.
Well, some people will remember you as the Basil Fawlty of Ericeira.
I was the Basil Fawlty of Ericeira.
Yes.
Liz was not the Sybil.
No, and you didn't have a Manuel. You had to be. You probably had to be Basil and Manuel, didn't you? All in one body.
I used to enjoy being rude to my clients. They seemed to like it.
What, as soon as you got a taste for it, you didn't. Oh, your brother's here now. Has he come to take you away? Have you come to make sure he's having his medication?
Yeah. Liz was. I can't hear you.
He needs some money for another drink.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Mike, we're live.
We're live on air.
Mike, we're live on air. Why am Brian? I'm calling him Mike, aren't I?
Another one.
Would you like coffee?
No.
I'll take a coffee. Do you want pastel donato? Do you want pastel donato?
Yes, please.
Can we are we going to talk to this man or not? Because we're live on the internet.
You'll never get rid of him.
Really? Okay. Well, let's go back.
Galown.
Oh, a Galown. Milky coffee.
Yes,
Milky coffee. Yeah, the equivalent of the latte.
Yeah.
Oh, look, tea ducks around the train. Fantastic.
We found the Silver Coast, and initially, because I'd had a sea view, I wanted a sea view, and we were in the Bom Sucesso part, which is basically right at the mouth of the lagoon, Óbidos Lagoon, or Óbidos, I don't know how they say it.
Óbidos, we could go with.
Yes, Óbidos. And we were looking at a house there, and it all fell through. We even had João Ferreira come up and look at it for us, our friend João.
Yeah, our mutual mate João, João.
And he said, walk away, Colin.
Did he?
Which we did.
Right.
And then Liz found this other property in a community near the lagoon, but away from the mouth. And I walked into it, and it just felt right, and I loved it.
Well, you seem to be good at that, don't you? Or is another barrel of beer coming in? The marvellous Nelson is just bringing us another barrel of Sagres in.
Yeah, so
you got a knack for walking into somewhere and saying, "Okay, this is it."
Well, you get a sense when you go into a house that you like.
Yeah,
and it just talks to you. And this house, it had been on the market 3 days.
Yes.
And we paid. Unfortunately, we had to pay full up. But
did you?
Yeah.
Right.
And that's it. We moved in there, and since moving in there, we found they have a lot of expats.
Your brother's taking our photo here. You're not impressed, are you? Come on, smile, Colin.
Yeah. Those Kodaks are very good, aren't they?
They are. When you get them back from the chemist, make sure you get 2 sets.
You don't get it from the
And
not anymore.
It's all on.
Oh, okay, great, brilliant. Bonus.
And then we found that through walking our dogs, we found out that there's a lot of expats there. American, Australian, English.
Tell me about that moment then, when you discover kindred expats. You say you generally find that when you're walking the dog.
Yeah, we walk in the dog, and then all of a sudden there's somebody saying, we say that, oh, they're fine, and they go, oh, so are ours, you know.
Yeah.
And then you start talking, how long you've been here and all the rest of it.
And that's a great strategy for making new friends in Portugal. Have a dog, get a dog.
I'm afraid I do make friends quickly, but
afraid.
But wonderful. And within a month, we have been invited out for meals to join them, to go to restaurants.
Superb.
And then we were at a 60th birthday party. Within a month, we were doing 3 times a week yoga at one of the neighbours' places.
Incredible.
It was wonderful. And one of the lads came with me on Sunday to go Karamulu, which is the festival of a bit like a miniature Goodwood that we went to on Sunday.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Was it great?
Yeah, we had a great time.
Excellent. So
So
just got to avoid the expats with the pampas grass in the front garden, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But everything apart from that going really well.
We love it there. Liz is so happy.
Yeah.
She's even feeding another 14 cats locally.
Is she? That's her real love and passion, is it?
But we're trying to get them neutered and reduce the numbers.
Yeah. It's an issue, isn't it? It's an issue.
It's a big issue in Portugal. Even people, because it's a holiday area, a lot of the properties are rented out. People seem to bring their animals and then just dump them.
Okay, so there's something to deal with there. Liz is doing a great job, and
is.
T-Duck is doing a fantastic job walking us around the green and the beach. San Martino de Porto into September now, and a little bit quieter. Have you noticed that as well in Foz and Óbidos? Has it just suddenly gone quiet?
It has just gone quieter. But compared with Ericeira, everybody said to us, you'll see a difference, Colin, in July and August. It's crazy here, but it was nothing compared to what we were used to.
Of course. Yeah. Okay, got it. So people, can we compare and contrast those again for people watching who might see this in the future as well? A lot of people watching us will be thinking about moving to Portugal. They might be here with their first base camp and thinking about their next move. Comparing and contrasting Ericeira and the Silver Coast. Sounds like this is the right thing for you now.
It is for us. I mean, Ericeira's got some beautiful beaches.
Yeah.
The town itself's got 55 quality restaurants. Our last village of Ericeira had 14 quality, mainly shellfish and seafood restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
It was 35 minutes away from the airport. So those are, great things.
Yes.
But to get a quieter way of life and a different area, the Silver Coast here is 1 hour from the airport.
Yeah.
But an hour compared with 35 minutes in life is not
the end of the world, is it? Not the end of the world. Okay, and so you've got this kind of peace or more peace premium, I suppose, is what you're dealing with.
I think so, yes. And the restaurants we're finding all very high quality restaurants with not too much high prices that are comparable to what we were used to in the Ericeira Rivermar area.
Good to know.
It's great. There is a thing on Facebook called the Silver Coast.
I was going to call it the catering group, but the dining out group, right?
Yeah.
Tastes of the Silver Coast.
Tastes of the Silver Coast.
Taste of the Silver Coast.
They have some wonderful restaurants, including the Taste of India, which we've been to about 6 times now.
Okay, Taste of India, good recommendation.
In the Caldas.
Yeah.
And Caldas is a wonderful city, and unlike Mafra, which was our local county town near Ericeira, nearly everybody here seems to speak English, which suits me down to the ground, being very poor with my Portuguese.
I have noticed that, I've got to say, Colin. I've noticed that, but isn't that a blessing for you in particular? Okay, so we've...
He does look old, that guy, doesn't he? Who is he?
Both of us. He
used to look like, what's his name? Bruce Forsyth.
All right, my love, give us a twirl.
Give us a twirl.
Legend. Would have joined you, says Wayne, but Novo Banco visit took longer than normal. Well, that's only to be expected, isn't it? Allow extra time if you're doing a bit of work with the Portuguese banks and bureaucracies and so on. Make a day of it.
Well, I have a trick there for you. If you're over 65, you should be able to take the.
Do you exercise that right?
I didn't. After waiting 3 hours for one bank, I decided that next time, even though I'm as fit as a fiddle, I'm going to play the card of the old age.
Was it a matter of waiting so long you actually turned 65?
No, actually, we got to the counter after 3 hours, and she said, "Oh, it's my lunch now. Can you come back this afternoon?"
Oh my word!
So when we came back this afternoon, we pressed the.
Oh, you did. You didn't say I didn't fight in two world wars for
no.
this sort of treatment or
No,
anything
I
like
didn't
that.
fight 2 world wars. Come on, how old do you think I am?
I'm joking. How's my brother from another mother? Says Frank in the Algarve. Is he talking to you or me? Do you think?
It's
Probably me, isn't it? I think. Yeah. We're good, Frank, and we cannot wait to do this with you either here or down there, my friend. Great to hear you. Great to see you in the chat. Thanks, mate. So, is it Obidos near the castle that you've now moved to? Question from Beverly.
Yeah, we're 15 minutes from Obidos on the actual lagoon.
On the lagoon.
Which the lagoon used to go all the way up to Obidos Castle.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And of course, as years go by, it's getting greener and greener. And,
yes. Yeah.
To the extent that on the way to Obidos now, there's actually a high-quality hotel built in the ground.
Oh,
all
I
the
see.
rooms are in the Qatar.
That was once water.
Yeah.
Okay, amazing.
And you see all these air conditioning units coming out, and all you see is the grass. And all the units are, and you can tell from the car park it's quite an expensive property.
Sounds amazing. Do you go to Cafe Cogomelos? Cogomelos.
Oh yes.
Is that close to you? The roundabout
10 minutes away.
Okay, that is a wonderful place, isn't it?
I think so. Yes. As long as you don't mind the mosquitoes.
Okay, because it's near the water.
Yeah.
There's a barbecue area there, isn't there?
Yeah.
People kayak and paddleboard.
Yeah.
Seen any flamingos? Have you seen any flamingos yet?
No.
Okay, you've got flamingos on your lagoon.
But apparently, the guy that owns that
steady on now
is the president.
Allegedly,
the president of the Junta Freire Val.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So an important,
So
significant,
good guy to go and spend your money with.
Absolutely. So we recommend that Cafe Cogomelos mushrooms,
Mushrooms.
between
They do
you and me.
a wonderful black spaghetti with prawns.
Do they?
Oh, it's gorgeous.
With squid ink pasta, I'm guessing. Okay,
Yeah. Beautiful.
very good,
Beautiful.
And a beautiful location, looking out over the water.
It's a fantastic location. The only downside is they're only open until 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
I have noticed that. You get there, don't you? About 4 o'clock. Sorry,
Thank you.
kitchen's closed.
Yeah,
we
yeah.
can do you a bit of cheese and bread, but that's it. Okay, so lunchtimes, right?
Lunchtimes.
Okay, excellent stuff. Cafe Cogomelos, great location. Watch out for being nibbled by mosquitoes. Charles Mitchell is here. Wow, Charles. You popped into a few man caves back in the day. You might remember Charles. Lovely to have
right.
you here, Charles. Hola, my friend, he says, and great to hear your voice, Mr. Munson. Thank you, Charles, and great to have your company with us this afternoon. Hope you're doing well. And again, just like with Frank, can't wait to sit with you here one day and have a beer with you. That'll be such a lovely moment, Charles. And Capricorn 12, Chris, maybe he could pop out any moment. This fella's flying backwards and forwards from the UK like a swallow, not just once a year, but like hundreds of times a year if he can get the flights. Morning, well, good afternoon to you, Chris. It's afternoon for both of us. I can't cover up that mistake by saying good morning because it is somewhere. It's not for you. It's not for me. Oi, back right at you. There, Chris. Colin, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Is there any other advice you want to give to people thinking about moving to Portugal? I mean, you talked about those specific areas, but it sounds like it's been a good decision for you.
Certainly. I mean, the cost of living here and the way of life. I mean, we don't go to a cafe every day like a lot of people do. But it's just so friendly. And the only thing about the Portuguese is they'll try and help you as much as they can, but watch their driving.
I think that's a price worth paying, isn't it?
Yes.
I like to say different driving style. I mean, you're a motors man through and through, aren't you? So what's your beef then with Portuguese driving?
Well, when I used to travel the UK, I used to do 10,000 miles a month, and I would see probably one accident a month.
Okay. Yeah.
Here I do 3,000 to 4,000 miles a year, and I see 2 to 3 accidents a week.
Right. Okay. So
take your own conclusion from that.
Yeah, and be careful out there.
And expect the unexpected.
The
unexpected. Indicators are an extra that they don't really understand.
It's kind of optional.
Right, yes. Okay. Yeah. Like essential oils.
Yes.
I mean, essential oils.
Yeah.
Look how old I am.
Yeah.
If they're that essential, why haven't I used them?
Hey, if I had my rim shot punchline sound effect, I would have. Don't knock it until you've tried it.
Exactly, that's what they say.
Maybe you just haven't met the right massage therapist yet. Would that be right?
Yeah, maybe they could be called optional.
Optional oils. It just doesn't sound as good, does it? The
Does it?
marketing is not there. There's my neighbour. Do you know this vehicle?
I do.
The Jeep.
It's
What's that about?
It's a Portuguese Jeep.
It's a collectible now, isn't it?
Yeah.
The UMM. Jeep.
UMM.
It's got a lovely yellow one in perfect condition.
Built, I believe, down in Stubble.
Okay, where Jose Mourinho's from. Oh, I would love a Coca-Cola if I may, please. That is not product placement, anybody, but if Coca-Cola are watching, we're open to it.
I should have a coffee coming, I think.
Obrigado. T-Duck, he looks after us really well. Colin, thanks so much. I think we're going to have a bit of a musical interlude now.
Good. Something
Cheers,
interesting.
Good. Yes, and now on to something interesting.
Thank you.
All right, all the best to you. We will flip our camera around. And look at that. Where's that going? Oh, it's being shown on the camera, of course. And is that your Nata?
No, isn't it yours?
No, it's yours.
Oh,
I think you asked for that. So I'm spinning the camera around. And so we're going to give people the beach view again. The beach is you can just about see it. I think there's a thin band there and people just ambling about on this beautiful afternoon, San Martino de Porto. Thanks very much to Colin, friend of the show, friend of the community, who is now going to enjoy his coffee. A bit too close to my computer for my liking, but easy. Okay. And I'm going to turn my mic down until we get Don back into the hot seat now, which Colin has warmed beautifully. And we'll be back in a moment with a bit of mandolin music, I think. There you go. Okay, this is an unexpected treat now. I'm going to spin the camera back round, and there are roadies helping with Don here. Don't start playing yet, Don, because we need to. We need an introduction to you, and we're gonna mic you up as well. Yeah, look at that. T-Duck, the roadie and sound man, I think is going to. Maybe if you put the cans on, Don, you'll be able to hear it as well. What's actually happening? Yeah, might help a little bit. There he is. He's a pro. He's done that before. Okay, and we're just micing him up now for a little bit of a treat. Look at that.
No, I don't know how this is going to sound because it's not.
You sound great so far. Should we get that out of your way?
Yeah.
There we go. He's all mic'd up and ready. This is rock and roll.
No, it's Irish.
All right, so this is a.
All right,
This
hold on. This is.
We're good. We're good. I can actually hear him, but we're putting the mic back on again. That's great. Okay. Don is a resident of the Silver Coast, and he's been allowed out for the day.
Yep.
And thanks, June. And what is the instrument we see in front of us?
It's a mandolin.
It's a mandolin. And how long have you been playing it? A few hours now?
Well, I played it on and off for about 15 years, but I haven't played for a long time, and you can see I'm getting blisters
you're
on the
getting a
end.
bit callous there, aren't you? Yeah.
Yeah, so forgive me if I'm not quite as fluent as I should be, but...
Don, it sounded so beautiful when you were playing before. I'm going to shut my mic off and so we can hear you. What is it you're going to play for us?
I don't know the name of them.
You just play.
There's one of them is just a... what they called it?
A traditional
Irish tune.
tune on the mandolin.
The second one is called An Comrade Doy, which is the brown coffin. But you know,
Oh, excellent!
They got some lovely,
cheerful numbers
some lovely names, haven't they?
Okay, so take it away, Maestro. So you've got a couple of tunes for us, have you?
Yeah.
Good on you. Thank you.
There you go.
Amazing.
Oh my God, that is amazing!
You're welcome.
Very, very good. You got a nice warm. You got a lovely warm hand on your opening there.
Yeah. That was nice.
That was beautiful. So please, yeah, carry on. Someone also, Wayne, saying you're a plucky little chap. Had to be careful how we type that. And a round of applause as well from Wayne there. I think Chris is going to be enjoying this too. Bluegrass player. I will want to make your acquaintance. Okay, over to you again. Incredible. Thank you so much. Look at that.
So,
Thank you, everybody.
cheers.
Don, amazing. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you doing that.
You're welcome.
Will you come and entertain us again another time? You are one of the regulars here at the meetup, and I appreciate you for that.
As I say, I need a lot of practice to get these things, the calluses back on my fingers.
So it needs to be properly calloused.
Oh, it needs to be as hard as that.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Okay. What does your lady think about
feel
that?
the tension on those springs, on those strings.
Well, I can feel your tension.
You have to push that. Like
Oh, yes. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so
Not the first time I've heard that, Don. 2 strings too.
Yeah.
2 strings, Don. Could this lead to a bit of a jam session, do you think? Are we going to have that with expats?
well, yeah, I mean, if there's anybody wants to join in, I don't have any problem with that at all. I mean, if somebody knows how to play a organ or the fiddle or guitar, whatever.
A bit of Kaylee vibes, and we might even work our way up to a party, mightn't we, and have a bit of an event.
Well, there is some.
Oh, here we go.
This isn't going to be good, but I'll try.
Beautiful.
I need to work on that, but it's
so
difficult.
great. It's such a lovely sound, and thank you for treating us to that.
You're welcome.
Ubi says, well, I'll take a PFFNC on his strings if I can't have the dulcimer and Made Up in the Hills. What is he talking about? Do we know?
No.
He's talking about a damsel with a dulcimer. Is that maybe a request of a tune? A
I know what a
damsel.
dulcimer is, but
Have you ever met a damsel with a dulcimer? Don't want to say.
no, I don't.
Okay, fair enough. No, you don't have
Here,
to.
so
Yeah. Let's keep that. Let's keep that between you and me. Cheers, Dom.
Yeah, all right,
Thank
you're
you so
welcome.
much, mate.
Cheers.
Oh, superb. Okay, that's Dom. Just a reminder then: Triathlon of San Martino de Porto. That'll be happening on the 17th and 18th of September. Lovely job, Don. Thank you. 2 days then of triathlon. Who's up for that? I'm not. Swimming in the sea is enough for me from time to time. Absolutely love that. And if you saw the morning show this morning, you'll know that I swam with one of those sea hares, which should be called a sea bat as far as I'm concerned, or like a marine Dracula or something like that. But amazing creature that we swam with in the sea. So triathlon, not for me, but swimming in the sea for sure. Except when when the sea bat is in the water. This is where the drunk Glaswegian turns up dancing. Yes. There are a few. No, somebody is waving to me on that basis over there. If we played for a couple more, I think, Wayne, that would have happened, wouldn't it? And Chris, great to see you here, Chris. Sounding great. Miss you guys. Missing you too, mate. Coleridge. Okay, so that was some Coleridge. The damsel with the dulcimer. Okay, thank you very much. You guys aren't really British, are you? Well, it's funny that, isn't it? It's a bit like, us you're quoting some Hollywood to you, isn't it? Forgive us for not catching that reference in time. We might have to look that up. We can't be experts on all of our culture at any given moment, but yes, a prompt. Okay, a little cultural prompt taken on the chin there. We need to bone up a bit, so to speak, on our literary culture, I think, there. So I'm going to spin the camera around again. I've got Big Phil, who's a regular here at the meetup as well. We'll talk to Big Phil in just a moment. I'm going to spin the camera around again, give you a bit more music while we get Phil into the hot seat. Turn the camera around. You can have a look at the beach again. And you can see how quiet it is now here in San Martino de Porto. A little bit of music as well. We haven't had the land train going past us today. I hope it hasn't finished because I promised to take my kids on that. I hope it hasn't finished for the year. Okay, a bit more music. And we'll have Big Phil here in just a moment. just getting ready with Phil here. Chris telling us that even from the United States, Chris is saying, don't forget there's the Bluegrass Festival in Trafaria. Trafaria is an amazing place to go in south of the river in Lisbon. So that's a great thing to be reminding us about there, Chris Smith. The Bluegrass Festival, first one in Portugal, Trafaria, this coming weekend. I don't know if you've got a link for that, Chris, that could be helpful to people. And Wayne, it always amazes me the difference a week makes at the end of August, especially at Nazaré and San Martino de Porto. You're absolutely right. This is such transformation, isn't it, between now and a week or two ago. You're spot on there, Wayne. I have Phil with me, so we're going to spin the camera around now and have a chat with Phil. Phil and I talk about many things, don't we, Phil? We might touch on one or two of them this afternoon. Here he is.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. How are you this afternoon?
I'm super.
That's good to know. So Portuguese life suiting you?
Very much. Yeah.
Okay.
Chilling out.
Say again?
Chilling out.
Yeah.
A little orchard glen. Yeah. There we go. One of this morning's
one of
harvests.
Phil's figs.
We have plenty of those.
Yes. Plums. You did have
We had
plums, didn't you?
yeah, sure. We
Plums.
had plums.
Yeah. So every this is one of the wonderful things about the meetup, and I think you're going to be doing something here that will really catch on. Is people bring things to share. You do every week, which is very generous of you. We've had plums, grapes, and figs. Lovely bumper crop of figs at the moment. And thank you for being here. And maybe we could have a little bit of a chat about. We're interested in, certainly since this whole business of, well, it's mainly me, I think, getting triggered about people leaving. I've been singing the praises of Portugal. You and I have had many great conversations about moving to Portugal, being in Portugal. And then it comes to our attention now that some people are leaving. And obviously that was going to happen, right? But part of that is thinking about what makes people, or what helps people to prepare better when they're coming, and what might help them stay. And some of the reasons people give, and maybe the kind of counterpoints or the other side of things. So there's quite a lot to go out there. First things first, how did you prepare yourself psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, if I may say, for your move to a new country?
So I guess I originally started sorting things out, saying, okay, I could retire early.
Yeah.
And so then I forgot who it was recommended, saying, you need to kind of have multiple purposes or callings or things to absorb your time.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's the right way to put that.
Right.
But so a couple of years ago, that I looked at that and I said, okay, what would that be for me? And for me, last year I explored what becoming a master naturalist. So I'm a nature boy. And so I enjoy the outdoors and wildlife and things like that. So I went and spent many months suffering in the mountains of West Virginia.
Okay.
Learning about, and literally it was very odd for me. We would always go there. We'd been going there for years. And then we would go there and I would spend my days in a classroom in the basement of this, Canaan Valley resort. Right? So I'd be normally I'd be out walking or whatever.
What you thought that might be?
In nature.
The process of a master naturalist might be in nature.
Right.
But no.
It was in a classroom in the basement.
Okay, funny old world. Funny old world.
I had to bring my, it was June and July. I was like, okay, I need to bring my parka or whatever to keep warm because the air conditioning was too cold. Anyway, the information was very interesting and the people were lovely and I learned a lot. Okay. I just didn't expect to be in the basement in air conditioning.
That's the suffering bit.
I guess that's a learning, And so that was very interesting, and I learned a lot. And I learned that I wanted to have it more integrate nature, and that helped me evolve my thinking about what I call it. I mean, people call it retirement. I call it regraduation, because it's like, okay, what am I moving on to? So to my mind, regraduation is I'm graduating from trading my time for money to what is it that I do? Who am I?
Yes.
And so that's kind of, and so that's.
So you really have prepared, haven't you? I mean, you really thought about it. You know, some approaches are, I'm going to retire and carry on with a lot of my interests and trade this life for one with a better cost of living. It sounds like yours has been a little bit broader and deeper.
Yeah. So yeah, we did some math, and then I did this thing. I'm a firm believer in what's called progressive elaboration.
Okay.
And so you're basically saying, great, here, I know I enjoy nature, and so master naturalists seem like a natural solution or path, and that evolved. I allowed that to say, okay, what did I learn from that, and what is the right thing? When I looked at that a lot, I said, well, the thing that I would enjoy the most about this, and this is kind of goes back to my college days, a couple of years ago, is I could be a naturalist guide and interpret for people what they're seeing and so forth.
So you might do that.
That was a thing I liked, but that really informed me that I wanted to be much more engaged with what nature had to offer and how it interacted. And so my wife is very much a plant-based diet person, and so I was like, whoa, what if I was the source for those foods or our land and so forth? And so that spun me into a different world of saying, okay, and so there's the world of permaculture and things like that I was like, oh.
Well, I think Wayne's figured you out. You have graduated to a man who can brag about his huge plums. Is that fair?
I guess, yeah, we could do that.
Although you did move into the property and they just kind of appeared, didn't they? But that's
we're not going to advertise that way. That doesn't sound like a very good marketing scheme.
But this is still the plan, isn't it? I mean, to be the provider in a very sort of alpha male kind of way. Your love of nature all coming together, permaculture. You've got the land, you've got the beginnings of productive trees.
Yep.
There and this is the ongoing. So you really have got a mission, right, and a purpose here. No question about that.
So literally, we bought a house basically off YouTube, which people are like, we are crazy.
What?
Yeah. What are you? Yeah. But we had gone through. We'd spent probably close to 6 months where I'd look at 3 houses a day on YouTube, and so we'd iterated through things and watched other people do the same thing, 2 or 3 other people do the same thing. And they were like very much, and this is the progressive elaboration, like, yeah, that works, or that doesn't work. And I check in with Maria would be like, yeah, the house cannot be a project. And that's kind of where we were. And I was like, we need land to, the whole concept that there's a phrase in permaculture called food forest.
Yeah.
And I think it might be beyond permaculture. But a food forest seems to me like, I go for a walk in the morning. I come back, with a backpack, and I come back with a backpack full of food, and that's what our diet is for the day, or a number of days. That was very attractive to both of us. We're like, what do we, how do we manifest that? And so now we currently have, a hectare of land, and it needs some trees. But other than that, it has a start of an orchard.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna have a kitchen. We have a kitchen garden started. We're putting out I'm gonna call it a market garden. It's more like an annual garden.
Yeah.
And then we'll be putting more of a permaculture aspect to our orchard. So there are currently olives, citrus, and apples, and pears, and peaches actually. And we'll be putting shrubs underneath and herbaceous things and beyond below that. So there's those. Ideally, there's going to be the canopy, and then we're going to have things underneath the canopy. So they're going to be shrubs. So either blueberries and things like that, service berries and I don't know. I've been learning a lot
It
about.
sounds great though. I mean, that you're going to need 2 backpacks, aren't you, when you go?
Yeah. So it's going to be you may have to go out in the evening and pick up stuff too.
2 trips to the land. to you. I mean, it's that. What a lovely idea that is, and I think an evolution or a complementary way of looking at horticulture and gardening to have a longer perennial kind of season. Or a mixture of seasons from more perennial things rather than that bang for buck approach to cash crops, which is quite intense, isn't it? And a little bit risky. You're spreading your bets. You're hedging, aren't you? It's like
a little bit of hedging. Yeah. Well, so one of the things we've observed while we're here in Portugal, moving from the U.S., the supply chains in the U.S. are horrendously long. I mean, so for getting most of our food is coming from California. It's 3,000. We lived in Virginia, so it was 3,000 miles to get nuts or whatever, and fruit if they didn't come from some other country.
Yeah.
And so here it's the supply chains, in my mind or my observation, is if it's not across the table from you.
Well, this is an example, is it?
Yeah, that's the backyard.
Yeah, that's your backyard. You only had to step out your back door to get that, and you've brought it's come on the longest journey that many of its relatives would have ever experienced, which is what, a 3-stop journey on the train.
Yes, it was 3 stops.
So that is fresh, isn't it? That's fresh. It hasn't been chilled or stored, or
no refrigeration.
It hasn't needed chemicals to make it last longer. You got some fresh goodness right there. Thank you for that.
Yeah. And I mean, even if I sit here at the cafe and we have olives, which in the U.S. I was like, I don't really like olives. Here, the olives are super tasty and they're fresh and they're yummy.
Excellent.
So we actually have a ton of olives in the orchard, and I'm like, oh, maybe I'll water them because they're the.
And you could, and then you'll do the treatment and maybe have your own olives.
Right. Yeah. So it's all. I'm learning about how to prepare the food after the harvest.
Another question for you on this basis. Yeah. Thank you so much, for sharing your passion and your purpose and how that furnishes a view of moving abroad. I think it's really helpful. Theory and practice. Then you're clearly a deep thinker, a strategic thinker. How has the reality of being in Portugal measured up to your strategic planning, and how have you coped with the twists and turns of that?
My strategic planning. I don't know that I had much in the strategic planning going.
Oh, really?
So I guess on the strategic planning side, I said, great, what's the cost of living? One of the major challenges of retiring early is that the healthcare system in the U.S. is a little bit expensive, and the healthcare system in Portugal is free minus private healthcare. And so the spreadsheet looks good.
Yes.
And so then we also bought a house, and the mortgage rates were, I think, a third of what they were in the U.S. when we bought. And so things have been changing rapidly. And we bought the house in May. Things have changed a whole lot since May.
They have, haven't they? Get more euros now, don't you?
Just a bit. Being a new immigrant, I tend to use credits or units, being that I can't keep track of whether it's a euro or a buck or a dollar or whatever. So I just
a quid. Yes.
I haven't been there, so I'm not quid. But yeah, it's a unit, a financial unit. But so that has helped a whole lot. Or the math picture. So the portfolio in the U.S. has also not been as happy as it was when we started this plan.
Right. Okay.
But where the plan is really kind of saying, how do we shorten our supply chains to say, great, the power is going to come from some solar panels on the roof.
Yeah.
The food's coming from the orchard and the garden in the back. And at some point, we're going to drill a well and a borehole and get water from beneath us.
Superb.
So it's very homesteadish.
Very homesteadish. And has the reality of life here in Portugal matched fairly closely what you thought it was going to be like? Have you had to do a lot of flexing and pivoting?
What did I expect?
Maybe you didn't have too many expectations.
So my way of life is not to expect a lot and respond to what is. So I think the best example is the fine example of here's the septic system. This is going to be a little dirty, but you know how it goes.
You've been warned. Oh, hold on. We've got a sound effect for this. And now Phil will talk about his septic system.
Yes, the septic system. So we were told, and the neighbor actually showed, this is the septic system, we're good to go. And we're like, oh, fine. And I'm like, okay, great. And then we had guests, and the septic system
was tested,
was maxed out.
Okay, you're right.
And then the camera came, the water sanitation people came, and they emptied it. But they also, at the same time, said, no, you don't have. There is no drainage field or whatever. So it was all.
Have I got to speed him up, Maria? I think you've got a train to catch him. Oh, it's not this train, is it? This is your train. You're going to miss your train. This is the train.
Bye-bye. The cliffhanger next
Hey, there's the train still running. My kids can forgive me. That's fantastic. Sorry. That's quite a contrast, isn't it? The septic tank and the land train going past. Let's go back to the septic tank.
The septic tank is a basic situation with everything I've on YouTube specifically. Teaches you saying, great, here's the septic system is this tank. It has 2 chambers. The affluent goes through, and then it goes out into a field.
Yeah.
Well, there is no field on our septic system, which I believe is relatively common here, to have just a tank and they pump it out. Or it goes into the septic system. That was a little surprising to me, and I really don't know how to deal with it. But
you will?
Yeah, we found some... Yep.
You're not going to let it ruin your day,
you know,
which an overflowing septic tank could do for quite a few people. You're made of stronger stuff than that, though, I think. Phil.
Yeah, it's fine. It was, it would just literally. Sorry, could you show the?
Yes, yep. Exhibit A.
Exhibit A is a beneficiary of the septic tank. It is just down the hill from the septic tank. Yes.
Oh yeah, now you mention it. So things are happening. You're taking it in your stride.
Yeah.
Wayne, look, you've enrolled this fella here. We love the idea of a food forest we got here, and we're scared about the amount of produce just a small bit of land can give. That's interesting, isn't it? People can overestimate or underestimate the attention required for land here, especially if you haven't done it before. And it made us rethink the size of land we bought. That's a good input for people, I think. Ubi, I don't know if Ubi's got growing in his plan or produce anyway. I'm going to take my time looking for a home in Portugal, probably a squatter in someone's van in Nazaré. Well, I hope they're fine with that. Maybe down south in the winter for Sagres. Of course, wife and kids may not like that plan, so they can find their own van. Well, that's fair enough, isn't it? And wait until this is a bit of a dark shadow cast over the conversation here, Charles. Wait until the CBDC takes over as a default currency. What's that? Is that the Chinese currency? What is a CBDC? Anyway, Louise is here as well. Thank you, Charles. What do you mean? Seems I just tuned in at the right time. Septic tanks. You're welcome. You're so welcome, Louise. So I think we can take from the septic tank metaphor. Sometimes life can be a bit shitty, and sometimes unexpected things. You've got to roll with it. You've got to toilet roll with it. Hold on. Where is it? Where's it gone? Thank you very much. You're right. Any other advice, Phil, for people? Theory and practice. What was that phrase you used? And can we bring that into the expat journey? The progressive iteration.
Progressive elaboration.
Progressive elaboration.
Saying, here's the plan. I think this is and lo and behold, you learn something from world. The path is gonna change. Thinking that you know what the world is and how it's working is hilarious.
Yes, it's true, isn't it?
You just have to laugh at yourself, kind of thing.
And you've got you've been practicing. Have you?
Yes, life has been teaching me plenty of things. Okay. So I just, I'm like,
you've always thought that, though, right? That's not a surprise to you, and you seem to be putting that right into practice, and that's what might come as a shock to some people. If they're expecting life to be much the same as they're used to, that could be a bit awkward, right?
It's not going to be the same. Absolutely. So I've been very much blessed with my wife. My wife is a Spanish speaker, so Portuguese has been a smooth transition for her. My Portuguese is terrible. My neighbor would be like, he's like, oh, it'd be great if Phil could speak Portuguese. I hear this through my wife because
Yes.
I don't get it.
Because you won't understand him saying that
I'm not
to you,
hearing
right?
it. We end up back in the orchard in the streets, not in the streets, but in the garden, and I wave my hands a lot and say, when is it going to rain? It's theoretically it's going to rain a lot this week, but he's like, oh, you know, run your drip irrigation this way and this thing, you know, and I'm like, what, you know, there's only so much you can communicate in hand language and so forth.
Yes.
So it's very and like so we bought some stuff to address the septic tank, and we got it from Amazon DE, and literally it came from Florida.
Wow.
And then someone calls and says, hey, we got this order from Florida. I'm like,
Yeah.
What
came
from Florida? And eventually I figure out I think it's green pig or something like that is the name of the thing. And we finally figure out, but it's like, I would have thought it would have come from Germany.
A surprise. So how many surprises a day will you be dealing with at the moment? Just so people know. I know you're doing something a little bit unusual, but it sounds like you're having to get used to this.
Yeah, how many a day?
Twists.
Yeah, was it yesterday, the day before, I realized that I had plugged in on my drip irrigation the things that should have been done for the garden piece, so I had to replace them all. So I mean, how many? That's an interesting number. Enough? As many as I can handle.
I'm thinking a lot. I'm thinking a lot of surprises.
5 to 10 that I can name.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know.
But this is just useful for people, I think, isn't it? Who are coming.
Yeah.
You know, I think we can safely say, don't expect life to continue the way it is.
No, absolutely.
Use this moment as a clearing for achieving some of the things you want to do in your life, sense of purpose, and maybe treat it as a personal growth, personal development exercise in some way as well.
Yeah. So today this is the first time we've been here 5 months or something like that. It's the first time we've been in public transportation. We took the train. The train was lovely. It was packed. It was fun. We actually talked to people on the platform.
Cool.
You know, somebody who's been there, you know, floating around Europe for 6 months or something like that.
Fantastic.
It's been fun.
Convivial. Then I would like, if I may, Phil, this to be a series. You know, using the expat journey as a basis, as a platform for personal development, personal growth, because I think you and I have had some fascinating conversations. That
it is,
and I look forward to part two.
You want it to or not.
Well, that's a great point, isn't it? That it's not like it's optional, is it? You can take the opportunity that this is throwing at you and work with it positively and find out things about yourself, or you can kick and scream, right?
Yeah, you can. Oh, I really want it to be. I mean, there are times when my wife and I were like, we want to go. We get emails and here's what's on sale for Costco. Specifically the apple pie. That's why I like my electric. For $5.99. They're like,
yes.
Oh, that'll be great. You know, there are other options and much fresher things here, and we certainly love the apple pie from Costco.
Make of that what you will, and we'll carry that forward. I will ask you about how the apple pie thing is going next time we speak, all right?
Super.
And if you've had to talk to your counsellor about that. But it might be, I don't know, it's a niche for a psychotherapist of some kind, isn't there, with all this sort of stuff?
Yeah.
And we've got a few mysteries resolving here as we conclude then. Central bank digital currency.
Oh, central bank.
Yeah, nothing to do with China. I thought one of those C's was to do with China. So, okay.
Which central bank?
The central bank.
Oh, the central.
Yeah,
is that the big brother central bank?
Exactly, because, you know, the big brother central bank will be looking at other Fed reserves and banks. Call yourself central? No. This is a central bank, the central bank. We're making light of it. I think Charles is concerned about that. And he's also asking how the energy crisis is affecting Portugal. Too early to call, isn't it? You know, we live in a warm country. It's incrementally rising. Petrol prices, gas prices, as you call them. Nothing too obvious yet that's being passed on. The effluent rolling downhill isn't too significant yet, is it? I don't think.
So I'm a little bit insulated from that. I've got an electric vehicle, so we're in that. We actually have gas in the house, but we're looking to unplug ourselves from the natural gas line.
Good move. Yeah.
And then we put in solar panels on the roof to be like, look, that's where the power comes from.
The CBDC are going to be so mad with you about
Yeah,
that.
they are going to be pretty upset. The whole
the man is going to be upset about all of that. We think, and you apparently last and parting thought, because I think septic tank has been quite well. It's Cockney rhyming slang for yank as well. Did you know that? In London,
what?
The Cockneys have their own language, septic, and it's a rhyming slang. Apples and pears, stairs, dustbin lids, kids. This is all new to you. I can
Yes,
tell
it
from
is.
looking
They're
at your
very
face.
good. Yes.
Like American septic tanks, yanks.
Okay.
Okay, well, we'll talk some more about this later. But I think we need to finish now. But apparently on this matter, you can get a tank that gives you usable water for the land with certain systems, multi-stage systems.
I'm happy to hear more about that. I've looked at things, and we actually are able to divert the gray water.
Yeah.
From the black water.
Yep.
That's black water is the stuff that we've been talking about.
Yes. This guy likes the black water.
You don't have to fish with those things. And we're planning on diverting the gray water and watering the rest of the orchard with the gray water. And yes, I'd like to hear more about.
Okay, let's leave that as our parting note. I suspect on the expatsportugal.com forum, there will be a new septic tank thread as of today that might include Phil, Wayne, and Louise, who got quite excited on arrival hearing the mere mention of it.
Super.
Phil, thanks very much.
Thank you.
See you for part 2 of Portugal as personal growth, coming from a meetup soon near you. Well, not near you, but come and join us. And
right
then
here.
Be near us. Be near us is what I meant to say. Thanks, mate. We'll just spin around and we'll conclude for the day. Cheers, Phil. Thanks, everybody.
Cheers.
Perfect.
On the 25th of April, the MFA announced that the people should remain at home because they feared armed confrontations on the streets. But the Portuguese population clearly disobeyed the military orders to stay at home because the thirst for freedom overcame all fears. And so people took the streets to the thousands and supported the military coup to force the resignation of the leader of the regime. The people brought red carnations and distributed them to the soldiers, who stuck them in their rifle barrels, making the flower the symbol of the revolution. The revolutionary process of 74 and 75 was one of the liveliest experiences in Portuguese history. In 19 months, there were 2 failed coups, 6 provisional governments, the process of independence of the colony, several mass strike waves, demonstrations, occupations of thousands of houses, a profound agricultural reform, occupations of land, the creation of workers' cooperatives, workers' councils, trade unions, neighborhood commissions, self-managed factories, businesses, offices, newspapers, and radios. Because the thirst for freedom overcame all fears.